Good morning, Friday, April 30th. So my topic today is conflict resolution, some concepts and some ways to work through interpersonal relationships in your life with authority. If you're not the person in charge, or if you are the person in charge, how you have to, work through some of the personality conflicts we run into, or just offenses, how we handle offenses when people say things that hurt our feelings. So it's 3 P's. The first P is pray. This is for believers only. If you're not a believer, get saved. Turn to the Lord, because you're going to really need Him to resolve conflict. So when you pray first, what you do is you bring all of your weaknesses, your strengths, your situation, and you talk it out with the living God. And as you're talking it out, you're starting to get an understanding of your part in the conflict, like what you could have done this way or that way, especially in a marriage situation, because it's so personal. And with your children, it gets very personal. And then a bunch of past stuff comes up, and people remember, hey, you did this, and they put the wrong construct on what you said or did. And then it becomes an argument. It becomes like, oh, this person hates me, or this person is against me. And because they never really, that's the enemy, Satan, was able to tie all these other things, because he's a divider. He's the accuser of the brethren. So the first thing you got to do as a Christian is take all that stuff to the Lord. And as you do that, you review your own role in the conflict and say, what could I have done differently? Or maybe I'm misconstruing motivation, because you never know what another person's thinking. Never. In the history of humanity, you will never know the deep recesses of someone else's heart. When you try to guess what they're really thinking, you're probably wrong. It's just judge not, right? But judge righteously. And judging righteously means you are letting God review you first. You take the beam out of your eye before you go and pull the splinter out of your brother's eye. So that's what prayer does. It helps you do that, because it's very hard to do. It's against our nature. The second P is patience. Sometimes just waiting a situation out will resolve itself. I had a pastor friend of mine years ago tell me, I think it's either the 24-hour or the 48-hour rule. When someone in the church would call him with a big problem, he would just tell them and tell himself, I'm not going to respond. I'm going to give it a little time, give it a day or two. And a lot of times the problems solve themselves. So patience is absolutely necessary, because if you start talking before you prayed and you're showing no patience, you're going to say more things that you shouldn't say that are going to come back to bite you later. So you have to apply patience. And the final P is perseverance. You have to persevere through the emotional stuff to the goal of restoration of the relationship. It's always the goal. The goal is always restoration of the relationship. Technically, without sin and death in the world, there would be no separation of relationships. Everybody would get along. We know in heaven, there's no conflict, argument, division, because everything's going to be perfect. And what is perfect? It's unity. So what's going on in America, obviously, is a lot of sin. Because with sin, you have conflict. With sin, you have division. And the enemy of our souls is so at war with us as a nation, because our nation holds the keys to the world and its peace. We are literally overthrowing a satanic cabal that's been in operation for hundreds of years. And that's why everything we're going through is so shaky. Like, everything is just topsy-turvy. The changes that the fake administration are trying to put in are antichrist ideas. They are not according to our Constitution. They are not according to individual right and liberty. See, that's the funny thing. When you look at the conflict with the races, it was manufactured, because we have resolved much of this through much struggle, pain, agony, conflict, and we developed new ways to make sure people aren't discriminated against. But now, the way the enemy's doing it, he's discriminating against the people that are theoretically in the majority. They're trying to create ideas that someone who never committed a crime, like white privilege. Like we did something wrong just because of our skin color, which is insane. So as we work through those kind of things, we have to get to a place on the scale of where we have discussions, like nationally or regionally. We have to get it to where we have open, honest debate. But we can't do it out of hatred. We can't do it out of thinking we know motivation of the other party. So these are my thoughts on conflict resolution. I hope they've been helpful. May God bless.